Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into an absolute masterclass in political strategy, Mahatma Gandhi's role in the Indian independence struggle. We're going to explore exactly how he took a highly complex, totally fragmented fight against a massive global empire and literally weaponized nonviolence to completely upend it. It's an incredible story, so let's get right into it. Here is our quick roadmap for today. First, arrival and early struggles. Then, the non-cooperation movement. Third, the famous Dandi March. Fourth, conferences and the Pune Pact. And finally, the Quit India movement. All right, let's jump straight into Chapter 1, Arrival and Early Struggles. So, to set the stage, Gandhi was born in Porbandar back in 1869, but he actually really honed his methods fighting racist policies over in South Africa before finally returning to India in 1915. And you really have to notice how fast he put his theories into practice once he got back. By 1917, he was already uniting peasant farmers in the Champaran movement. Just a year after that, in 1918, he was fasting for mill workers in Ahmedabad and leading the Quetta struggle. Basically, he was proving his methods on a local scale before bringing them to the national stage.
Now, he didn't just build this whole political framework in a vacuum. He considered Gopal Krishna Gokhale to be his political guru. Gokhale's influence was absolutely instrumental in shaping Gandhi's early grassroots approach to Indian politics.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, the non-cooperation movement. So, why 1920? Well, every massive movement needs a spark, right? And this perfectly illustrates the dark cause and effect of colonial oppression. The triggers for this nationwide movement were incredibly specific and brutal. The passing of the oppressive Rowlatt Act and the horrific Jallianwala Bagh massacre. These two specific actions by the British administration were the direct catalyst that pushed Gandhi to launch the non-cooperation movement. The whole strategy was officially adopted at the 1920 Congress session in Calcutta. Okay, so how did this actually look day-to-day for the average person? It was a really comprehensive strategy designed to completely paralyze the British administration. Indians systematically boycotted British-run schools, colleges, and courts. People withdrew from government offices and legislative assemblies. They totally rejected foreign goods, and they even started returning their government awards. The goal here was super simple: make British rule literally impossible to sustain by completely withdrawing all cooperation. And the movement gained incredible momentum. But then, things took a really dark and dramatic turn. In 1922, a local protest in a place called Chowdi Chowra escalated into a violent riot, resulting in the tragic deaths of 22 police officers. Now, the absolutely crucial thing to look at here is Gandhi's reaction to this. Despite all the amazing nationwide momentum they'd built up, Gandhi abruptly halted the entire non-cooperation movement. He announced a total withdrawal. This was a massive strategic retreat, but it proved something essential: Gandhi's absolute, unwavering commitment to nonviolence. For him, a victory won through violence was just no victory at all, even if it meant delaying rapid political success. Which brings us to Chapter 3, the Dandi March. At its core, this whole march was a protest against a tax, but honestly, not just any tax. The British had imposed this completely unjust tax on salt. Now, why is that so strategically brilliant? Because salt is an essential daily commodity for absolutely everyone, regardless of your class, your religion, or your region. By targeting the salt tax, Gandhi found that one perfect issue that could unify and mobilize the entire nation. The sheer scale of what this eventually became is legendary, but it actually started with this tiny number, 78. The march kicked off from the Sabarmati ashram with just 78 dedicated followers. Honestly, a remarkably humble start for a protest that was about to capture global attention. But the physical stakes here? They were incredibly high. 375. That is the exact number of kilometers Gandhi and his followers walked, making their way toward the Gujarat coast. It was just a grueling, physically demanding journey that really demonstrated their immense discipline and endurance. And finally, 25. After marching for 25 long, exhausting days, they reached the coastal village of Dandi on April 6, 1930. And right there, Gandhi did something profoundly simple, yet totally revolutionary. He just reached down and scooped up a handful of salt from the beach. With that one single, nonviolent gesture, he shattered the British salt law and ignited a massive fresh wave of civil disobedience all across India.
All right, let's look at Chapter 4, Conferences and the Pune Pact.
So, to try and handle all these massive disruptions, the British convened a roundtable conference over in London. Gandhi actually attended the second session in 1931. But when the colonial government flatly rejected his demands, he headed straight back to India. He immediately restarted the civil disobedience, which, as you might guess, swiftly landed him right behind bars.
And while he was locked up in Yerrawada jail, a major political crisis unfolded. The British announced separate electorates for untouchables. Believing this would permanently fracture Hindu society, Gandhi began a fast unto death. Obviously, this placed immense pressure on Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was fiercely advocating for those separate electorates to make sure the oppressed classes actually had representation. Ultimately, these two leaders met right there in prison and forged a historic compromise. Under the 1932 Pune Pact, the idea for separate electorates was dropped, but in return, a significantly larger number of reserved seats were allocated for the depressed classes within the general electorate.
Entering our final chapter here, Chapter 5, the Quit India Movement.
Do or die. I mean, wow, this wasn't just some catchy slogan. It was a powerful, energetic mandate that marked the absolute peak of the Indian independence struggle. In 1942, Gandhi launched the Quit India movement, demanding an immediate end to British rule. The careful patience of those previous decades, that was entirely replaced with a fierce, uncompromising demand for total freedom. Well, the British response was immediate, and it was harsh. On August 9, 1942, Gandhi and virtually all the other Congress leaders were arrested in this massive, sweeping crackdown. But you know what? The movement couldn't be contained anymore. Those arrests instantly sparked unprecedented nationwide closures, strikes, and protests. The entire country practically shut down, sending a very clear signal to the British that their control over India was rapidly slipping away. And that brings us to our final thought. From those early grassroots experiments in Champaran to the massive boycotts, the grueling 375-kilometer walk for a handful of salt, all the way to that final demand to do or die. This was 3 decades of incredible, unyielding endurance. So I want to leave you with this question to really reflect on. How did 30 years of enduring these escalating, nonviolent tactics not only free India but completely shape the modern world's approach to civil rights? Gandhi proved without a doubt that you could defeat an empire without firing a single shot, leaving this monumental legacy that would inspire movements across the globe for generations to come. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the history that shaped our world.